I mean, originally it was going to be shot in Australia, but COVID was pretty bad at the time. And I think Australia went into full lockdown and the producers had to what do we do? And they managed to get a slot in Prague where the film was shot in the end, and had a very short pre-production, which was really difficult for everybody. I mean, imagine on days off during the shoot, they were still scouting and pre-lighting and everything as they were. Yeah, it was a very tough shoot. So I went to Prague for a month before production. They did a lot of tests, like with video camera for some of the stunts. So you would, make sure that everything is well. So you edit those, put them together. Okay, we're set. And then when you get to set, you already did. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. But you already had a visual of it.
So yeah, walk us through. I guess give us some insight into what goes into creating this oner. Obviously, we had one in part one. We knew something bigger was going to come in part two. And it certainly delivered. I mean, just kind of maybe walk us through, what goes into creating this fascinating, action sequence, both from pre-production and actually being on set and then now in the cutting room.
So, we started shooting with the long shot, the oner piece. And so I was on set, basically, as soon as there's a take in, load it in, check it, go for the second take. By the third take, generally, you have everything working fine, and you would hope that by your fourth take, maximum, you have your shot. So you choose you do your select, put it on your timeline, then the camera aligns for the next segment, and so on. But between each take, Sam, who operates most of the heavy action stuff, would come with all his rig, his helmet, the whole thing, just quickly check the take. Okay, next, okay, all right, next. And it was a pretty cool experience. I was in the back of the train, I was in a van following the cars, and I was in the prison just behind. Yeah. So that was pretty amazing experience to be witnessing a production of that scale, and also this precise. It's a whole choreography between the stunts, the camera operator, everything has to be timed perfectly. There's no, and on set, it's when the thing is on you, you have 1 minute. They want to see it and go to the next one. So you're editing on the go. And yes, you can later check and maybe change one take, but you have to make sure that all ends and beginnings kind of align as close as possible for least VFX, makeup kind of thing.
Is there some pressure associated with that, being in that position where they're turning to you and asking you, hey, okay, do we got it?
Imagine you have it's snowing outside. The train moves at 50 kilometers an hour. So I get the take when the train is coming backwards. So it's Sam that comes, Chris, so you're, and Greg, the DP, Greg Baldi. And we're sitting, I'm there, trying to get the thing ready. And the more takes you have, I have to build that on the timeline super fast to compare, but to compare with the previous shot and the next shot. And it's so you start creating these little mini sequences all over the place. And then you have Sam, Chris, and Baldi standing behind you. And I'm oh, Lord. No pressure. They did a lot of rehearsals. For example, for the helicopter, they rehearsed first on a stopped container. Then they rehearsed on a moving truck. Then they rehearsed with a moving train. And then we brought in the actor. It's everything goes so that process was weeks long for the most difficult sections of the shoot. So basically, once you're on set, you're putting it together, making sure it's working. When I go back to the edit, so some days that when they're shooting more drama scenes, I would be at the edit suite in Prague. So I would combine between set and the edit suite, and I'm just trying to start putting sound on it, because for a long shot, sound is crucial, because you need to create the whole environment around you. Why, for example, something attracts, the camera moves left, so it's all a full, I remember, Matt Carson, my assistant, who did an amazing job. He was there with us. He was on set too, and he was like being like, okay, like sound like, and there was so much footage coming in sometimes. It was like, you're like, okay, how do we do this? And then, you're trying to put a scene there, and then you already have another one coming in, another one coming in. It's like, so, we had a great team in Prague, and I think we had a pretty decent assembly pretty much at the end of the shoot, which was really, really helpful. Yeah, I mean, it was quite an adventure in that sense. But to make those long shots work, you have to definitely, you can't go back generally. This is not the type of thing that you go reshoot. So no. you have to make sure it's working from out of there. So I think, if you look close, I'm sure people will say, there's a couple of stitches there. It's normal. Like Adam's, it's a 21-minute long shot. So, yeah. But the idea is that you don't look at them, you don't see them, you don't worry about them. No. So if there's a little thing that feels odd, that's probably the one, you say, there's a movement that doesn't seem correct or something. But I think we did a great job, and VFX did a great job trying to, smooth, and like not even some of them, I think nobody realizes where they are.
No, man, it was fascinating. I mean, you're in that space. I mean, you literally feel like you're there. You're immersed in the scene, even if you see the stitch or whatnot. I mean, you're just in it. Lovely work, man. I mean, I was talking about action scenes and sequences. I mean, what is your approach to cutting an action scene? Especially when we have people on top of a building down in the parking lot and the roof. I mean, like, how do you keep the audience oriented, and also just how do you tackle just so much footage?
That like the whole Vienna section was like, we were there, so we were in the tower. They were shooting downstairs or in the corridors or floors, and we were in an office in the middle. But I was linked, especially towards the last days, I was literally linked to the camera. So we would get the footage from the day before. We have to make sure, because the closer you get to the end, is like you can't go back to this type of scene. So you have to make sure that at least you have a strong like assembly that works with all the elements that are wanted for the action and also for like the story to follow. Luckily, like having someone like Sam Hargrave, the director, he knows where it's going. Like those moves. I think it was pretty interesting to sit with him afterwards, because you're like, I'm gonna cut, and he's like, it's here and here, and he knows that, and that I learned a lot. I was like, okay, I get it now. I see, it's a different approach, but at the same time, if we hadn't had that longer assembly before, like what I did is I assembled every piece of action, like the guy in the staircase, the gym, the thing. So it was like 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes for each section. So when you look at it, it doesn't work, of course. But then you go like, okay, you go from this moment to that moment. And some of the cuts are pretty interesting when you see the guy bend over and you cut to Chris bending over again, so that's little like choreography things, those are the ones that Sam has pretty clear in his mind, in his vision. But that was a challenging thing, because a lot of effort, working. We had a couple of editors that worked along the way. Pietro Scalia was there for a little bit. Then Bill Hoy came in towards the middle of the show and finished the film with us. So everybody had kind of like a go at these daunting scenes to say, okay, did we miss something? Is there anything? But at the same time, like I know that Sam would go and make sure that the takes that are in are the ones that are the best for the action and the timings. And sometimes it's just such a simple thing that you're like, okay, I get it. It's just that flow of action that really plays pretty nicely.
How do you collaborate, I guess, with other editors when there are multiple editors, say, on a film? What's that process like for you?
Well, that was a new one for me. So I had to navigate the new. So because I started from day one. I was there like, and at the moment you were like, they're putting an editor, which obviously is Pietro, for example, is obviously legendary, and I'm like, does that mean something is not going well? So you have that question going on your mind, and it's like, no, it can't be. And it's just, I think, the way they need to make sure, or that part of it, I understand. it is a lot of footage, and also the timings to present to Netflix, to present to producers. It just like I was on my own for the month of July before the first like small, not test screening, it's test screening, and yeah, there was not a single day off like this. So then there's a moment where you understand, okay, yeah, at least you get days off.
You get some rest, man. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was, it was interesting. I learned, like you have to be able to communicate, and but at the same time, for me it was important to try and keep the style. Like the style was there from the assembly. It's slow. It's an action film that's actually pretty slow. If you look, I mean, not slow. I don't know how to explain it. It has just a slower pace,
which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah, but I think you need it. Like you need, in order to like hold to the rest, you have to like embrace those moments of like calm and really let them breathe and understand what's happening in the background. So hopefully that worked out pretty well.
Well, yeah, like I said, I told you, I mean, I really enjoyed the pace of the film and those, dramatic moments. I mean, how do you balance, I guess, say, an approach also, say, an action scene versus now, these, intimate, say, dialogue scenes?
Well, I think, the way the film was written, it had that moment of him being, already like wounded and not being able to do anything. So that already tells you that you have to sit. You have no choice. That's what the character is asking you to do. But then on the second part, we're like, oh, you need to like understand. Like, I think there was one of the things that happened in test screening is actually people want more background, more character, more. They actually are willing to stand the moments of because if it's just a streamlined action from A to Z, you don't know who you're looking at, really. Like I think, for me in the theater, it was really nice to see at the premiere is the moment, after the whole Vienna shootout and everything, and we go into the helicopter and Yaz is, dying, and we cut out sound and we just only hear very faintly her sister shout, like, then the music, and then you just hold on that shot for a second. And the reaction was like, yeah, people felt like, oh shit, he's gone. And,
I felt it, man.
So that is rewarding.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, yeah, it just has so much of everything. And if people listening right now haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on Netflix. Definitely cannot miss it. I mean, what was your favorite scene to cut?
Well, I had quite a few. I actually enjoyed a lot, like the whole like cabin part, because it sets up another tone in a good way. Like you're like, okay, there's nothing happening, but you have to make it somehow. Little things like the chicken joke. That's from day, like those are the things that don't change. Like it works day one on the assembly. That's it. Boom, it's there forever. And but it was really interesting to obviously the whole oner was. Pretty cool to be working on that. In the end, and even the Vienna shootout like becomes like, okay, that's a big action piece that goes all over the place. But I think I enjoyed a lot. For me, the church scene. I think is like I like that slow standoff at the beginning. Again, like you hold like he's limping, the guy doesn't move, he's just looking. The boy standing there. Just like boom, slowly, and then until the boy holds the gun and all that. So that I think it's one of the scenes that was pretty like until the end. Won't let go. Don't try to rush it.